Lamar had perhaps his best year to date this past season, as he was 7th out of 35 in expected points added, which if you don't know what that stat is, I have a video that breaks it down. It's awesome because it's useful in defining how well a quarterback, offense, or defense is playing, so it's a do-it-all stat. In addition to being great in EPA, Lamar was also excellent in quarterback rating, ranking 4th in the league. His supporting cast was ranked number 8 according to their PFF wide receiver and offensive line grades, so they helped as well, but when everything is factored together, Lamar ranked as my 3rd best quarterback in the league this past year. At backup quarterback, Josh Johnson is likely a solid option, as he has a ton of experience and can run a similar offense to what Lamar can. They also have Snoop Huntley, who looks nothing like Snoop Dogg, so I don't know how he got that name. Less importantly, regarding his play, he's basically a worse version of Lamar in every way, so he can do what Lamar can, just not as well. As we move to the supporting cast, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like, and also subscribe, as both make massive differences. With that out of the way though, the offensive line for Baltimore should be really sound. They were 7th in pass blocking when combining ESPN's pass block win rate with PFF's pass blocking grades, and they were also 7th in run blocking when combining those same metrics together. So they were very consistent in what they did, and compared to last year, they will likely be a fair bit worse, but they should still be alright. They traded Morgan Moses to the Jets and lost Kevin Zeitler and John Simpson to free agency. Daniel Falele will replace Zeitler at right guard, which is a bit worrisome as Daniel has struggled early on in his career. He really hasn't looked the part basically whatsoever. He looks slow in particular. Moreover, Andrew Voorhees is a question mark for John Simpson, as Voorhees was drafted in the 7th, but went that late in part due to getting hurt at the Combine. Lastly, Roger Rosengarten was drafted in the 2nd, and 2nd round rookie tackle since 2019 averaged a 55 PFF grade, which is fine, as that would rank 68th out of 89 tackles that played 20% or more of snaps. Their depth is really good at tackle, as Patrick Macari is one of the best swing tackles in the game, as he ranked 31st out of 81 tackles this year in PFF grade. They also have Josh Jones, who was 17th out of 81 tackles in 2022, so he could be a solid replacement for a tackle should one go down also. Regarding their weapons, they're both strong and weak. Zay Flowers was very good, as he was 44th in yards per game, and a nice 69th in yards per reception, which does do a reasonable job of telling the story of Flowers, as he is more of a short to intermediate receiver that can turn short plays into longer ones, but he does have some proficiency winning deep downfield as well, so though he is 69th in yards per reception, he is, I think, a little bit better of a deep downfield winner than that. He just wasn't always getting the most targets or even running the most routes in that area of the field. So he's a very solid player. I think he does have the capacity to be a true wide receiver one, and that's going to be huge for Baltimore if that is the case, because Rashad Bateman was pretty weak, as he was 128th in yards per game and 58th in yards per reception. He is a very solid route runner, and he has reliable hands. He just hasn't been able to put it together to this point, as evident by his stats being really lackluster. Lastly, for their starting wide receivers, Nelson Aguilar is whatever. He was 132nd in yards per game and 73rd in yards per reception, so he's not really going to wow you whatsoever, but he's a reliable enough target. Shifting to tight end, Mark Andrews is an elite tight end, as he was 6th in yards per game among tight ends, and 4th in yards per reception among tight ends. He's also a solid run blocker, so he really does it all. He really is a good player, and I think he's right in that second tier of tight end, right behind George Kittle and Travis Kelce. So he is spectacular, and I think we sometimes take for granted just how good he is because he's not quite up to par with Kelce and Kittle, but he really isn't far behind. At running back, King Henry continues to play like a king, as he was 3rd out of 59 halfbacks in PFF grade. He has as much power as any running back in the league, and he still has some speed as well, so he has a really good combination of athleticism, and his basic stats like yards per carry were really not good this year. I believe it was below the 4.2 yards per carry average for running backs, and that looks pretty worrisome, especially at his age. But the thing with him is they were basically defenses, that is, were selling out to stop Henry and nothing else in Tennessee, as they didn't have a very proficient passing game. And the offensive line additionally wasn't good in Tennessee, so he's getting an upgrade in Baltimore in a lot of ways. Depth-wise, Deontay Hardy is a solid number 4. Devontae Walker was drafted in the 4th and has good potential. Isaiah Likely is a great tight end too. And Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell are both excellent backup running backs. So they have a lot of insulation if anybody gets hurt. They're well protected at basically every position, though they don't have the greatest receiving room as a whole. There are some still question marks there. Shifting to the defense now, at cornerback, the Ravens are good, and they're very deep as well. Marlon Humphrey ranked 59th out of 127 corners in PFF grade, and the year before was 14th out of 118. So he is really good and has the potential to be about as elite as anybody in the league. He's really good in man coverage and can also play zone at a high level. So he has no deficiencies in his game. For their second cornerback, Brandon Stevens is a very good cornerback too, as he was ranked 50th in PFF grade. He's a good run defender in addition to using his 6'1" frame to his advantage in pass coverage, as he makes good plays on the ball, which smaller players just are unable to. He's also good in man and zone, so they have a nice thing going with their first 2 cornerbacks. And lastly, for their nickel corner, Arthur Maulet, he was ranked 45th out of all cornerbacks. He historically hasn't been very good, but he looks like he's found a nice home in Baltimore, as evident by him being 45th. That is a good ranking. What's nice with Baltimore is that none of their starting cornerbacks, and as you'll see later, their depth cornerbacks are good too, but none of their starting cornerbacks can be really targeted, and that's the best thing you can have for your defense, is to make it difficult for offenses to scheme up against one player in particular, which really makes it that you have to earn every yard as an offense. At safety, they are absolutely stacked. Kyle Hamilton ranks 6th out of 95 safeties in PFF grade, and last year was number 1. He's awesome in coverage and is a fantastic pass rusher too. He struggles a fair bit in the run game, but overall he is a superstar still. He's sort of mislabeled as a safety though, as he played 301 snaps at free safety, 236 in the box, and then 465 as a nickel corner. So he technically played most of his snaps at a safety position, but the position he played most was corner. So he's a bit of a confusing player, but that works to his advantage and the advantage of the Ravens as a whole, as he can just do it all, and he really is fantastic no matter where you put him on the field. Their other safety is quite underrated, Marcus Williams. He was 18th out of 95 safeties according to PFF. He's one of the best coverage safeties in the league, but like Hamilton, isn't the best run defender. An underrated aspect of Marcus Williams is that he can play any position at a high level, like Hamilton, as he logged 100 plus snaps at nickel corner, in the box, and as a high safety. So they have a great chess piece situation going for them, and that's so nice with offenses having more chess pieces than ever before on offense as well. So it's great that they can match up in that sense. Regarding their defensive back depth, it's fantastic, like I've alluded to. Nate Wiggins was drafted in the first, which may sound like he should be an immediate contributor, but since 2019, rookie first-round cornerbacks average a 56 PFF grade, which would put him at a rather poor 105th among 127 cornerbacks. Wiggins is super talented in coverage, though, and mainly went as late as he did because he's a bit light for the position. Additionally, they also have TJ Tampa, who they drafted in the fourth, but was regarded by some to be a second-round talent. Fourth-round rookie cornerbacks, crazily enough, have done better than first-round rookie cornerbacks, as the average fourth-rounder has a 57 PFF grade, which would be good for 99th out of 133 that played 20% or more of snaps. Lastly, at safety, Eddie Jackson struggled this year, ranking 76th out of 95 safeties, but the year prior was 13th out of 88, so he might be something as a third safety, and either way, they got him for really cheap, so he's going to be, I think, a good addition basically no matter what, but he has the potential to be really good as well. Moving to the front seven, on the defensive line, the Ravens are pretty darn good. Odafe Owe is a really solid edge, as he finished 32nd out of 122 in edge pressures despite missing 4 games. As will be a common theme, he's good against the run as well. Someone who isn't good against the run, though, is Cal Van Noy, who ranked tied for 37th out of 122 for edge pressures, even as he also missed 3 games. Unlike Owe and the other defensive linemen, though, like I said, he struggles against the run, but I'll still take him as a contributor nonetheless. We have a name change here, as Justin Madubuike is now Nnamdi Madubuike. He was 6th out of 142 in defensive interior pressures, so he is an elite pass rusher. And he's a solid run defender as well, which is nice. Michael Pierce is also a star, being 39th for defensive interior pressures. He's also basically immovable for the run game, so he supplies a lot of value. As for their depth on the defensive line, Travis Jones is really good as a third defensive interior, as he was 53rd in defensive interior pressures. Brent Urban is a great fourth defensive interior, ranking 89th in pressures despite playing very limited in snaps. And David Ajabo is a player with unlimited potential. He went in the second round in 2022, but he was regarded as a top 10 player in the draft before getting hurt, leading into the draft process. Isaac Adissa is also someone with potential, as he was drafted in the third round. Rookie third round edges since 2019 average a solid 63 PFF grade, which would have him as 79th out of 122 for edge rushers, which is a solid contributor. For our final positional group, the linebacker core for Baltimore should be pretty darn good, and there is a bit of a question mark around it though. Roquan Smith ranked 15th out of 82 linebackers in PFF grade. He's really good against the run and exceptional in pass coverage, so he has no issue in any aspect of the game. And for their question mark at linebacker 2, Trenton Simpson was drafted in the third round last year. He didn't really play much this season, but he has the athletic ability to be a superstar, as he ran a 4.43 40, which is insane for someone who weighs 240 pounds. He is just super athletic, And that's great in the modern game where linebackers are being targeted in pass coverage. He at least has the speed to match up with wide receivers, which is a major plus. It's not to say that he can cover wide receivers, but he at least has the ability to do so. The depth at linebacker for Baltimore is a question mark as well, as it stands, because no one is really a clear linebacker 3, which is a bit worrisome. So they're going to need to stay healthy if they want to have a good linebacking core, which they very much could have. In all, the Ravens are really, really good. They have a top 5 quarterback that is more than capable of uplifting the talent around him, but the supporting cast is pretty good too. They have an offensive line that should be solid, enough weapons at receiver and tight end, then some elite running backs, and defensively, their defensive backs are extremely talented and deep. Their defensive line is very good, especially on the interior, but there's a ton of upside on the edge too. Linebacker-wise, Roquan is about as good as anyone in the league, and Trenton Simpson has the potential to be just as good as Smith is. I don't usually mention special teams, but it bears saying that Justin Tucker is also a weapon, as he may be the best kicker of all time, so they have a lot going for them in basically every facet of the game. Those are my thoughts. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more content.